There have been some claims made by an army secretary over in the United States that have sent people into an absolute meltdown. So it comes from a man called Dan Driscoll, right, who is the army secretary over in the United States, and he made some insane claims about an astronaut who is currently on the moon who is a soldier. And it's kind of sent the UFO community into a bit of a meltdown because it's like, we didn't know there were people on the moon and all the rest of it. But there's a lot, there's a little bit more to this. So just to kind of give you a little bit of context, right? So Daniel Patrick Driscoll is his full name, and he is the 26th United States Secretary for the Army. And he confirmed by the Senate on February 25th of 2025 with a 66-28 vote. And he is a former Army officer, Iraq War veteran, and also a lawyer. So, you know, he's got a lot of credentials. He's born in 1985 in Boone, North Carolina. And Driscoll served as an Army officer and cavalry scout platoon leader with the 10th Mountain Division from 2007 to 2011, deploying to Iraq from October 2009 to July 2010, and earned a Ranger Tab, Combat Action Badge, and other military awards. After leaving the Army, as a first lieutenant, he graduated from Yale Law School in 2014 using the post 9/11 GI Bill, where he was a classmate of Vice President J.D. Vance. And Driscoll worked in involvement banking, private equity, and venture capital, and ran unsuccessfully for North Carolina's 11th congressional district in 2020 as a Republican. So, bit of history about him there, because I feel like this kind of information is quite important when we talk about people, to kind of give you a bit of backstory about who they are, what they did, what they do now, what their credentials are, because it adds a bit of leverage and weight to what they do, right? Because obviously it's easier to say that, oh, they're you know, the Secretary of the Army, but that doesn't really mean a lot to a lot of people. But if you kind of list off their accolades and, you know, list off their credentials, people are like, oh, he's a well-educated man who was served in the military for X amount of time. He's done this, that, and the other, and, you know, he's got a bit about him. Now, he's made some pretty wild claims over on Fox News that aired on June 11th of 2025, where he stated, quote, "We talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier, while discussing the Army's achievements." And as you can imagine, this statement sparked widespread speculation, as no publicly known US lunar missions with soldiers have occurred since the Apollo program, which ended in 1972. And, you know, many sources have suggested that Driscoll may have misspoke, confusing the moon for the International Space Station, but notably, Army Colonel Ann McCain, and a NASA astronaut, was aboard the ISS at the time, and Driscoll had spoken with her days earlier, praising her unique role. Now, neither NASA nor the Army have confirmed any current lunar missions involving soldiers, but as you can imagine, social media took this clip and absolutely ran with it. So let's take a little look at the clip right now.
As young Americans across the country get to see all of the amazing things that the Army has done, whether it's helping with floods in North Carolina or wildfires in California, or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier, including actually going to war and fighting to defend the freedoms that make our nation so great. We think this is going to be an incredible opportunity for the Army to fill up our pipeline for the years to come.
Now, as you can imagine, people saw this and were like, oh my goodness, there's a lunar mission to the moon, right? With soldiers. What are they gearing up for? What's on the moon that needs soldiers and all the rest of it? And the internet kind of has gone absolutely wild with it. Obviously, when you add in the context that obviously he was speaking to people prior to this who are currently on the ISS, like, for example, Colonel Ann McCain, who is a NASA astronaut, you know, it adds a little bit of weight, like, oh, maybe he meant the ISS, but, you know, people are like, he's let the cat out the bag here, there's a lunar mission with soldiers involved, there's something on the dark side of the moon. I've seen so many wild theories over the past kind of 12 hours that it will blow your socks off, right? But Driscoll was obviously discussing the Army's diverse contributions to disaster relief to military operations when he made this specific remark. That was on the build-up to the clip that we've just seen, and the comment was part of a broader point about showcasing the Army's achievements to boost recruitment and also retention. The casual delivery, as noted by sources like the Daily Mail, for example, suggests that it may have been an offhand remark rather than an intentional revelation. Now, obviously, like I say, he could have just misspoke, talking about the moon, talking about the ISS, there's that possibility, but it didn't stop. Now, Driscoll has not actually addressed the statement directly since it happened, and no official Pentagon or NASA response has confirmed or denied lunar activity, and the absence of follow-up questions from Fox News host Brian noted that in Reddit discussions has fueled perceptions of either oversight or deliberate avoidance. So the internet's basically seen this and has been like, oh, that's a revelation. Fox News don't want to cover it. The NASA or the Army haven't confirmed or denied these allegations. Driscoll himself hasn't come out to say, oh, I misspoke, I didn't mean to say the moon, I was talking about the International Space Station or whatever. And the internet's just been like, right, there's all the fuel that we need to spark up this fire, light it up a government's arse and be like, ha, this is a gotcha moment. But, is this a gotcha moment? I'm not so sure. Now, let's kind of talk about a bit of historical context very quickly. So post-Sputnik, the US military, particularly the Air Force, explored lunar outposts, but no public evidence supports operational bases right now. Now, there's claims of secret government programs, as speculated on places like X and Reddit, for example, which often cite unverified sources like alleged CIA documents or remote viewing stories, but these do remain unsubstantiated at this current time, so it's worth noting that. And the moon's constant observation by astronomers, as noted in many threads, makes undetected human activity incredibly unlikely, because obviously, there are people always watching the moon. Someone would have seen something by now, in my opinion, if there were bases just kind of popping up on the moon and there were humans on the moon, for example. But ultimately, it goes to show that people like Driscoll need to be really careful with their wording, because they will be highly scrutinised even if they misspeak. But at the same time, I personally don't feel like there's much weight to this. I do feel like he's just misspoke. I don't think that there's anything going on the moon, personally. But then again, who am I to say that? What do I know compared to other people? Do you know what I mean? Like, there is the amount of lies that come out of the government. It's well within the possibilities that there could be something crazy going on the moon. But I truly do feel like he misspoke, especially with the context of Colonel Anne McCain, for example, being on the ISS. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Way down there, jump together, hell out that like button, and subscribing to the next time. I'll speak to you later. Peace.